Macon-Bibb County Commission for January the 21st, 2020. Wish all of you a happy new year and say welcome. We're glad that you are here at Government Center, and we're delighted to have you here. We will begin our meeting tonight with an invocation and a pledge of allegiance. We've asked Pastor Timothy French of the Beulah Missionary Baptist Church to give our invocation for us, and after he gives the invocation, we have two students that will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So would you please stand as you are able for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Pastor French, if you'd come to the podium, please, sir.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come today before asking you for anything to say thank you for all things. As we gather here in the city and county seat in a new year and a new decade, we acknowledge who you are and that everything has its being because of you. Thank you on behalf of all who have gathered here today. Thank you for the many abundant blessings that you have bestowed upon us. And thank you for life itself. For the measure of health we need to fulfill our daily calling. Thank you for the ability to be involved in useful work and for the honor of bearing appropriate responsibilities. Thank you for the freedom to embrace you. Thank you for loving us even when we did not deserve it. For the scripture tells us, you have said that citizens ought to obey the governing authorities. And since you have established those various authorities to promote peace, order, and justice, therefore I pray for our mayor, for the various levels of city officials, and in particular for this Assembly Council. I'm asking that you would graciously grant them wisdom to govern amidst the conflicting interests and the issues of our times, a sense of welfare and a true need of our people, a keen thirst for justice and righteousness, confidence in what they are doing, and let it be fitting. We ask of thee now that would bless Macon-Bibb in a way that only you can do. Bless Mayor Ricker, commissioners, and all elected officials. Allow peace and cohesiveness to abide in our meetings today and in our meetings in the future. I pray for this agenda set before them today. Please give an assurance of what you have asked us to do, and we will continue to do it in your name. For we recognize, God, that your power have not been diluted nor depleted over the years. You are just as powerful today. You're just as in much authority today as you were in creation. And we ask all these blessings. In your Son Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Good afternoon. Please join us in saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Be seated. Our invocation given by Pastor French. Pastor French has been the pastor of Beulah Missionary Baptist Church for 18 years. My goodness gracious. Time flies when you're having fun, don't Pastor French? Pastor French is a voice for the community and always taking a stand for justice and equality. Married to the former Chandra Nelson, a father of 5, grandfather of 7. He served as president of the Baptist Ministers Union of Macon and vicinity, instructor for Congress of Christian Education. Pastor French currently serves as president of the 6th District and director of disaster relief for the General Missionary Baptist Convention of Georgia. He is sought after across the United States for his ability to preach, teach, and lecture and evangelize. One of his favorite scriptures is, quote, "For I am not ashamed of the gospel of Christ," unquote, Romans 1:16. Pastor French, thank you for your service at Beulah. Thank you for your service to our community and for being here with us tonight. We really do appreciate you being here. Our Pledge of Allegiance was led by Satoria Kroll and Edrika Coleman. Satoria, would you stand up so we can recognize you? Satoria Kroll is a 5th grader at Alexander II. Her hobbies include church activities and reading. She has an infectious personality and never seems to meet a stranger. With her characteristics and aspirations, she desires to become a doctor or a teacher someday. So we're delighted that you're here. And Adrika, would you stand so we can recognize you? Adrika is a 10th grader at Northeast High School. She enjoys dancing and band. One of her many accomplishments is becoming drum major for the high school band. Since she enjoys helping others and children, she one day aspires to be a teacher. Thank both of you for being here tonight. And in this day and age when we hear so much bad stuff about young people, isn't it great to see two such shining examples? We wish you much success in the future. Thank you for being here. The next item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes, and the minutes of our pre-commission meeting of January the 7th and the regular commission meeting of January the 7th have been distributed. Are there any changes or corrections? If not, can I get a motion by Schlesinger and second by Wynn to approve the minutes as written? All in favor of approval of minutes signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and those two sets of minutes are approved. There are no invited guests tonight, but we welcome each and every one of you to be here with us tonight, and we thank you for being here. Next item are public comments on an agenda item for action tonight, so that we actually hear from you before we vote if this item is something that we're supposed to vote on tonight. If you are here to talk about a non-agenda item, we'll call on you later in the evening. If you are here to talk about the restrictions on the use of rifles for hunting in proximity to a residence, we had a very successful public hearing earlier this afternoon at 4 o'clock, and we are having another public hearing on that same issue on Monday at 6 o'clock. But you're also welcome to stay through the meeting tonight if you'd like, and to talk to us about that at the end of this meeting as well, because it's a non-agenda item for tonight. Oh goodness, we got several folks that want to talk to us.
And he did not indicate. So I'm not
Okay.
sure what-
Okay. The first is Andy Petrowski. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Wants to talk to us about item M on our agenda tonight. Thank you very much for being here with us, Mr. Petrowski. You are recognized for up to 5 minutes, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Say good evening to everyone.
Yeah, adjust that microphone just a little bit more. There you go. Now I bet
You like that?
That's much better.
What I really wanted to talk about pertaining to item N is our department, Business Development Services. And the part of us being privatized is not something that we feel is actually going to do any benefit to the community. It puts a lot of people in a position of possibly losing employment with the county and losing retirement, years of service lost. You know, our department's very important to the community, and we just feel that that's not really a good way in which we need to go.
Thank you very much, Mr. Petrowski. We appreciate those comments. Gene Dunwoody is here to talk to us about item M as well. Mr. Dunwoody, how are you, sir? You're recognized and speak up to 5 minutes.
I have to lower the microphone a little bit. Mayor, members of the commission, I am concerned about item M because was not involved in the process when it was put out for competitive bid. But as you know, we do a lot of buildings and historic buildings downtown, and we've always found that in the past that people who are members of this community had a high regard for the value of existing buildings being adaptively reused, and there has to be give and take because some of them who are over 100 years old can't meet the current code. And I guess one of the things I would mention here is that the state has an article that gives special dispensation to historic buildings. Local governments don't have to follow that unless they have it incorporated in their codes, and I would urge that you do that. I can give you the titled, it's Official Code of Georgia annotated Title 8, Chapter 5, something like that. I'll send it. But I am concerned that there will be some loss of existing personnel who are familiar with and are longtime members of the community. And I would hope that you members that being added to the inspections team would come from the local area rather than being brought in from the outside. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dunwoody. We appreciate you being here and appreciate your comments. Mr. Emery Yarborough. Mr. Yarborough also wants to talk to us about item M. Thank you for being here, Mr. Yarborough. You're recognized for up to 5 minutes, sir.
Yes, sir. Item M, that's referring to the business license part of business
Yes,
and development?
Business Development Services.
Okay,
Yes.
I think we're here for the the privatization part, basically. We're not really discussing the business license part. But Safe Built is only taking 4 inspectors from our department. Now, from my understanding, they were supposed to take more personnel from our department. And that being said, I was wondering what is going to happen to the rest of the employees that if y'all go through with the privatization, what's going to happen with the rest of the employees that are left without a job to go to?
We'll try to address that for you in the discussion of that item when it comes up. This is not supposed to be a give and take at this particular time. It's for us to hear you, but I'll
Okay,
certainly try to see that that's covered during discussion of this item.
Okay, there's been, I didn't mean to cut you off, but there's been several things said that y'all was going to vote on it last week. Now we was told y'all was going to vote on it this week. So do we know when that vote's coming up to finalize that deal with Safe Built?
Tonight. It's my impression, isn't it? Isn't it on old business or is it on the new business?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, I don't know.
Privatization,
Yeah. Right, that's
the council has not discussed the privatization of business and development to Safe Built?
Looking at the agenda for item M concerns hold on, we'll read you the caption. An ordinance to approve supplemental appropriation from fund balance amount of $52,000 business development services contract label. Contract services line up for the purpose of funding 3 temporary employees for a period of 3 months for purposes of funding a contract for electronic signature capability online license renewals. That's all. That's the only thing that's on the agenda item tonight.
Yes, sir. I was just asking when the,
So
well, evidently.
I suppose it would come up at a meeting in the near future about Safe Built and retaining Safe Built. I'm trying to avoid a give and take discussion here. That's all.
Okay, I'll yield.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Yarborough. We appreciate you being here. Chris Sheridan?
I want to emphasize a couple of things. The system is broken, and it needs to be fixed. We started talking about this issue back last April, and the system is still broken. I don't see how it's gotten any better. I represent the Associated General Contractors of Georgia. I'm on that board and past president. And around the state, we see similar problems with privatization. That doesn't mean that privatization may not be the right answer. I don't know that yet. What I do want to urge each of y'all is to understand this is a complicated issue, and that I'm asking y'all to renew your efforts to look into the details of this and help let the industry help find a solution to this problem, because what we've done since last April, we're not there yet. The plan, in particular, the plan review process, which is being done by Safe Built now, is slower than it used to be several months ago. So we've got to do something to fix that. And if we do, if Safe Built takes over the inspection part of it, and then we need to be careful about that. They may be good but given the experience that we have with the plan review process over the last several months, we need to look at that very carefully.
Very good.
One other point, two other points. The law says that we can hire a non-certified building official today, and they have 18 months to become certified. So you aren't under the axe today. Point number two, it's hearsay from what I've heard that the inspections and that the Bureau takes in about $4 million in revenue and spends about $1 million to perform the services for that revenue. The state law says that the amount of money that's spent has to reasonably approximate the amount of money that's taken in. So if what I hear is correct, then there's money to be paid to hire the right people that we need. But the system is in need of real serious examination, and it's a complicated issue. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sheridan. We appreciate you being here. Mr. Sidney Haynes. Mr. Sidney Haynes. Hey, Mr. Haynes. Welcome. You're recognized for up to 5 minutes, sir.
Thank you. I also want to speak on the privatization with the plan review and of Safe Build, and I'll just try to make a quick story of what happened to me today. So recently I turned in a simple set of plans for someone who, a small business person who went out and purchased a 15,000 square foot building that was totally operational. It's a warehouse, and this person wants to put a cabinet shop there. So in the past, I had dealt with the city, and I echo the comments of Mr. Petrowski and Mr. Dunwoody and Mr. Sheridan. It hasn't been perfect in the past, but it has worked. It needed some improvement. So anyway, I contacted the city and said, hey, I have this project. It's a simple project. We're going to go in and build 2 office spaces within a 15,000 square foot space. And what exactly would the requirements be to get a building permit for this project? And so having dealt with Mr. Fuller for 28 years, I had taken the time to meet with Ricky and knew what the expectation would be, and asked Ricky to meet with me to look at the drawings that I had prepared. And Ricky felt like that what I had prepared would be more than enough for this simple project. And in the past, he would look at a project like this and say, okay, this particular project is not required to have a registered electrical engineer or mechanical engineer or plumbing engineer. And if you look at Macon-Bibb County's the Department of Business and Development Services Administrative Procedures for the enforcement of the Georgia State Minimal Standards Code, in the section in there, there's a section in Chapter 8, item number 10. It says electrical engineers required to stamp and sign the following: projects where electrical contract work exceeds $100,000. Same thing applies for mechanical, electrical, and plumbing disciplines. So when I sent the drawings in to Safeway for preliminary review, I got a 5-page deficiency of things that needed to be included in this set of drawings. Of those things were a registered engineer needed to be engaged to secure a building permit. And so rather than talk with the Safeway official over the phone, I said, could we have a meeting? And so Mr. Fuller and myself went there this morning and met with this fellow. And Ricky, my intention was to go in to say, look, Ricky and I had worked together for the past 28 years. This is what the city has required in the past, and understanding that this is an existing building, it's not a new building, this is a small business, this is an undue burden to put on this small business person. You're talking $25,000 to $30,000 in engineered drawings for a system that's already in place. So the Safeway official basically said that they weren't going to follow that, and Ricky pointed out, well, it's in the city documents, in the minimal standards of Chapter 1, and he said he would look into it, but he felt that it had not been recorded properly, and that he had no intention of following it. So that being said, a small business person, it's going to be very difficult for them to come here and do business in this town if those kind of burdens are put on there. And I'm a Macon resident, and I've lived here all my life. And so I explained to Mr. Watkins, I said, Mr. Watkins, I'm afraid you're going to run business off if this is the requirement for such a simple project. I understand if it's a new building, if the requirement is there, I certainly understand it and want to follow those rules. But don't put an undue burden on someone who's trying to build a small, simple project. So that's just my personal experience that happened today.
Thank you for being here, Mr. Haynes. We appreciate you being here and appreciate your comments. Mr. Ken Smith?
I guess M's for money, because we're talking about money, the cost that is going to be incurred when we change over to this privatization. I've talked about it down here before. You're going to see real estate men, you're going to see architects, you're going to see everyone. We've had a system, was it great? Not the best in the world. What we're going to is definitely not great. And we keep talking about extended 3 months. The deal has already been made. I think every one of you sitting up there would have to attest that the deal's made, because Safe Built would not be getting rid of employees. Safe Built would not be here, and Safe Built would not be, the man over Safe Built would be trying to buy him a house. We need to, if this was done, this is public business. Everybody that's interested in it should have been here when y'all voted. If it is done, to me, it should be null and void. We should have time to get all the groups in together. We live here together. We don't want to run business off. We talk about what we want for Macon. What we're trying to do is get someone who's here for one reason: profit. We don't need everything in this world set for profit. We need this set up. We want our towns protected. I tell everybody, if you go to Bibb County and you ask me about the inspection department, you can depend on it. You can't in other counties. If we fix a fire job, I've been doing it 51 years. When they say you can close it up, it's good. But we're not doing it. And here again, I wish someone would say, yes, we have got to deal with Safe Built. It was wrong. We need to open it back up to the public, and let's go again. And here again, it cannot, it's void. It's null. You don't have the power. That's not Gestapo. This is not a dictatorship. This is democracy, and we have a right to input. And we need to do it now. We got some people been here 20 years. Michael Barnes is not here tonight, but Michael's head electrical inspector. He teaches out at Central Georgia Tech. He teaches this. He teaches people to pass a state exam. He wasn't included in those kept. Some people tell you Michael's too doggone hard, but when Michael does it, you don't have to worry about it. There's nothing. We got to worry about quality and not coming up with something, a pie in the sky. We're too bad about grabbing onto something that has no proof in it. And we don't do enough due diligence, but they all need to, let's go back, and I don't care if you extend it like you say you're going to do it 3 months. We need to go back to square one and let everybody be invested before y'all do something behind closed doors. A closed door policy is not what we need in this town, and I think every one of you know that. But absolutely the deal's been done.
Well, thank you, Mr. Smith. I appreciate your comments and appreciate you being here.
You're quite welcome.
Mr. Eugene Dunwoody, Jr.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Commission. I want to echo my sentiments with some of these other people, and I'll make this really quick. I don't always agree with the inspections and fees. It's kind of funny that I'm sitting next to 2 inspectors that I fight with all the time, and I disagree with them, but I always felt like we had a very fair inspections and fees process. I felt like people are knowledgeable and they're helpful. And my experience working in downtown Macon is that there's probably not one single building, including this one, that meets all the codes. And you need to have people that understand our community. You have to understand the old buildings. I'm an architect, but I also serve as the vice chairman of the state licensing committee for general contractors. I'm the only architect in Georgia that serves on it. I've worked with a lot of different counties. I worked in counties where we have professional inspections companies. I've had some success with some and failures with others, but I'm asking you, you've probably got 1,000 years of experience in this room of people who have worked here in this community, and if you haven't made the final decision, we would just like to be involved in that process and would like to offer my help and probably everybody else in this room to support a new system. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gene. We appreciate you being here. David Thompson? Thank you very much for being here, Mr. Thompson. You're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, sir. Not to beat a dead horse, but I did come representing Piedmont. Just to let you know, we've been working for about 18 months on one of the fading five, which was the Alexander School, converting that through to an assisted living nursing home. The developer's from Knoxville. He was attracted here by Ethiopia Garlington to take a building that had been vacant and was endangered. And after the plan review process in the fourth quarter of last year, it took a lot of begging and pleading. They were about to leave and abandon an $8 million investment. There's an example when they see they're not getting the communication and cooperation. So whatever you choose to do, it has ramifications if they don't perform. And I'm fairly certain they're going to proceed, but it took a lot of begging and pleading, because once they got the comments back, they felt they were onerous and incorrect, and the deal was nearly done. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Thompson. Appreciate you being here. And Bob Lewis is here. Bob, thank you for being here. You recognize up to 5 minutes, sir.
This year marks my 50th year in the real estate business. And I have maintained my office in downtown Macon for all of those 50 years. And 2 years ago, a little more than 2 years ago, my wife and I bought a loft downtown, and we have moved downtown. And so I work downtown, I live downtown. You've heard all these people. I deal with almost every one of these guys that have been up here tonight. And I think, and I've been here 50 years. And I've been active for 50 years, and I plan to be active more if everything works out. But what I want the commissioners to consider and to think about, we don't need to do anything that takes longer than it used to take. And I have a lot of people from out of town that I deal with, and they say that Macon's one of the hardest towns they've ever worked in to do business because of these kinds of things and delays and things of that nature. But I think you will all agree we are experiencing a revitalization of downtown Macon like I've never seen before, and I've been watching it all these years. So I would ask that each of you consider this privatization more carefully than apparently some of these folks think that it has been considered. And I think that we are a town of a size, or a city of a size, that we should have our own department and not have to go outside of this community, because we've got very, very able people. And all you have to do is look around and see what a great city we have. And it worked under the old system, and hopefully you will see that and continue to look forward to going back to that type system. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Bob. Appreciate you being here. And finally, Mr. Willie Frazier wants to talk to us about item A. Mr. Frazier, thank you for being here. You're recognized for up to 5 minutes, sir.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners, and to all of you that's out here. I wanted to talk about item A because it's blight, something that I see on every side of town in Macon, except North Macon. You might see a little bit, but not as much as the other 3 areas. And my thing is, it's kind of hard to think about blight and all of the things that need fixing, and that we all been trying to find ways to fix, and then turn around and hear this, out of all of these individuals about, how they're going to sustain, with the setup that we have here in Macon. I have ideas about what I feel like need to be done in my community, because blight is so heavy. Everywhere you look, there's something that need to be fixed, something that need to be torn down, something that need to be changed, even in our historical areas and societies, which is where people are starting to destroy things or either tear down things. History used to mean something here in Macon-Bibb. Everything, so much stuff is historical here that we do need to be careful about how we take Macon's history, how we take the things that you're building, how we take the things that you're preserving, and how we take the things that you're destroying. I understand destruction, and I understand how you all feel. My overall idea is for Macon to be a business hub. If we losing business here, that's something that we don't need to do. Macon should be that hub where people come from out of town and come here to do business. I don't understand how we're going to continue to perform in this city and make Macon what it always been said to be. Now people are talking against Macon because we're not being that anymore. If it's the last thing that I do, I intend to push for city government, because I want Macon to be a business hub instead of sending business out. We got so many people here that's wise in business. We need for everybody on the outside to come in and do business with us. And that's what I'm pushing for. And all you that seem to feel the same way need to be pushing with me. Thank you for your time, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Frazier. We appreciate you being here. We got Mr. Josh Andrus, but I'm not sure what you wanted to talk about. You didn't indicate whether this was old business, new business, or an item on the agenda.
We probably do the bulk of historic work inside the core of downtown. We're dealing with safe built in other cities, and it's difficult to get anything done. I'm 3 months behind on one project in Locust Grove, just waiting on safe built. We do a lot of tax credit projects that it takes every nickel we can get them done, and adding cost to it is going to really hurt our business and hurt growth downtown. So I really need you guys to consider this, because I see it from my side. I mean, I'm all in agreement with everybody doing something good and doing everything right the right way. But this is just costing us money, and it's losing possible clients, and it's losing possible prospects for buildings downtown. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Andrews. We appreciate you being in and appreciate your comments, sir. That's all of the people that signed in to talk to us about an agenda item. If you signed in to talk about a non-agenda item, we'll get to you a little later. But now we'll move on to next item, which are reports from our standing committees. Operations and Finance Committee, that report will be given to Mayor Pro Tem. I got your light flashing. Did you have a?
Well, I'm just going to address you as the chair, Mr. Mayor. My understanding is that we just sat through about 25 minutes of people talking about something that's not on the agenda. And I just want to clarify, because I know we'll have a reading of it. But the item that folks are referring to, the ordinance tonight, is to help with business license. Nothing about inspections. I just want to be clear. Is that your understanding, Ms.?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Committee reports first, Operations and Finance. That report will be given to us by Chairman Watkins. Chairman Watkins.
Thank you, sir. The Operations and Finance Committee met on January 14th, 2020, and took the following action. The committee approved an agreement with Musco Sports Lighting, LLC, in the amount of $300,000 for lighting to be installed at Dolores Brooks Recreation Center. And this is to be paid for by SPLOS bond proceeds. An agreement with Middle Georgia Outdoor Lighting in the amount of $108,000 for services related to the installation of Musco lighting equipment at East Macon Fields to be paid for by SPLOST bond proceeds. A professional services agreement with Tyler Technologies to provide file interface between court management software and misdemeanor probation supervision software in the amount of $20,160 payable from SPLOST proceeds. A professional services contract with Mead and Hunt for design of the system upgrade for the Tainter Gate hoist for Finley Ryther Dam at Lake Tobosoffke in the amount of $147,900 to be paid from SPLOST proceeds. An agreement with Ag Pro LLC in the amount of $124,798.76 for a John Deere 5075M utility tractor for an amount of $115,000, and for a John Deere HX6 lift type rotary cutter for use by the Public Works Department to be paid for from capital improvement funds. And another agreement with Ag Pro LLC in the amount of $147,118 for a John Deere utility tractor with mid-mount boom mower and accessory equipment for use by Public Works Department, also to be paid from the Capital Improvement Fund. We approved an independent contractor agreement between Macon-Bibb County and Roadbotics Inc. in the amount of $82,500 for pavement inspection and evaluation of county-maintained roads. We approved a supplemental appropriations from fund balance in the amount of $100,000 to sponsored programs for the purpose of funding 2020 census outreach efforts. We approved a supplemental appropriations from fund balance in the amount of $52,806 to business development services contract labor for the purposes of funding 3 temporary employees for a period of 3 months for the purpose of funding contract for the purpose of funding a contract for electronic signature capabilities for online renewals. A supplemental appropriations from fund balance in the amount of $13,260 to the municipal court for the purchase of computers, monitors, and printers, and other supplies. This concludes the report of operations and finance.
Thank you very much, Chairman Watkins. Next committee report is the Economic and Community Development Committee, and that report will be given to us by Vice Chairman Nguyen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Economic and Community Development Committee met on January 14th, 2020, and took the following action. The committee approved the appointment of Valerie Nguyen, yours truly, to serve as a member of the Retirement Committee for the Macon Pension and Retirement Systems Division A Plan. The committee approved reappointing Pearlie Tolliver to serve as a member of the Retirement Committee for the Macon Pension and Retirement Systems Division A Plan. The committee approved the reappointment of Louis Frank Tompkins to the Fire Civil Service Board. The committee approved the following changes to the Code of Ordinances. Chapter 2, Article 6, to substitute the word board for the word commission in the names of certain advisory bodies created within the Macon-Bibb County government. Amending Section 2-851 of the Code to clarify the appointment process for members of the Pedestrian Safety Review Board. This concludes the report of the Economic and Community Development Committee.
Thank you, Vice Chairman Nguyen. No report from Public Safety Committee, so that takes us to the Facilities and Engineering Committee, and that report will be given to us by Vice Chairman Allen. Vice Chairman Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Facilities and Engineering Committee met on January 14, 2020, took the following action. To name the intersection of Hopewell Road and Midway Road after PFC Horace Johnson, who was killed in action in Vietnam. To close the alleyway between Plum Street and Poplar Street Lane and close the portion of First Street Lane and Poplar Street. Both areas are being closed to accommodate new development in that area. This completes the report of Facilities and Engineering, sir.
Thank you, Vice Chairman Allen. The next item on our agenda is the consent agenda, and this is for new alcohol license applications. There's only one tonight, and it's by Ingleside Village Pizza. It is for beer and wine to be sold on the premises at Ingleside Village Pizza, 2395 Ingleside Avenue. It is accompanied by all of the requisite paperwork, the sheriff's certification of a satisfactory background check, The Business Development Services Office certifying that the appropriate fees have been tendered for the alcoholic beverages sought to be dispensed. A zoning compliance certificate, a measurement form by the county engineer to say that it meets all of the prescribed separation distances, and the ad that ran in the Macon Telegraph. Committee of the Whole recommends approval of the alcohol license. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of issuance of the license signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the license will be issued as requested. That brings us now to old business, that has been considered by a committee or committee of the whole. And the first item is an ordinance to create a new blight elimination revolving loan fund. And I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
An ordinance of the Macon-Bibb County Commission to amend Chapter 6 of the Code of Ordinances of Macon-Bibb County by adding a new Article 5 for purposes of establishing a blight elimination revolving loan fund and to provide for other lawful purposes.
The Committee of the Whole recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the ordinance signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The ordinance is adopted. Item B is a settlement of a tort claim against Macon-Bibb County, and I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
A resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing settlement in the total amount of $22,500 for any and all claims, demands, or damages against Macon-Bibb County arising out of or connected in any way to Sonia H. Walker versus the City of Macon, Georgia, civil action number 80096, State Court of Bibb County, State of Georgia, and for other lawful purposes.
The Committee of the Whole recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the resolution is adopted. Next is a settlement of a claim for an automobile accident, and I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
A resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing settlement in the total amount of $8,000 for any and all claims, demands, or damages against Macon-Bibb County arising out of or connected in any way to Donald Boyer versus LaKitty Robinson and Macon-Bibb County Board of Commissioners, civil action number 87580, State Court of Bibb County, State of Georgia, and for other lawful purposes.
The Committee of the Whole recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the resolution is adopted. Next, item D is an appropriation of money for lighting at the Dolores Brooks Recreation Center, and I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
A resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with Musco Sports Lighting, LLC, in the amount of $300,000 for lighting to be installed at East Macon Fields, known as Dolores A. Brooks Recreation Center, to be paid by SPLOST bond proceeds and/or SPLOST revenues and for other lawful purposes.
The Operations and Finance Committee recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. Item E is a companion resolution to pay for the installation of the lighting we just bought. I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
A resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with Middle Georgia Outdoor Lighting Incorporated in the amount of $108,670 for services related to the installation of the Musco lighting equipment at the East Macon Fields, known as the Dolores A. Brooks Recreation Center, to be paid by SPLOST bond proceeds and/or SPLOST revenues and for other lawful purposes.
The Operations and Finance Committee recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Commissioner Lucas, got your light on.
Wanted to say that the Muggy Little League was just almost dead. And after this commission supported improvements out there, phase 1 and now phase 2 to Dolores Brooks, there's new life out there. And now I think last year they had maybe 300 kids out there, male and female, and they're organizing for this year. So this just shows you the difference that implementing these changes and using our own citizens' tax money and putting it back into the neighborhoods, how it can make a difference. And it certainly has made a difference at Dolores Brooks Park.
Good. Thank you, Commissioner Lucas. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. That takes us to the next item, which is item F. And that's a resolution to purchase tractor mowing equipment for the Public Works Department, and I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
A resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with Ag Pro LLC in the amount of $124,798.76 for a John Deere 5075M utility tractor in the amount of $115,178.84, and for a John Deere HX6 lift-type rotary cutter in the amount of $9,619.92 for use by the Macon-Bibb County Public Works Department to be paid from Capital Improvement Fund and for other lawful purposes.
Operations and Finance Committee recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. The next is a companion resolution to buy another piece of John Deere equipment for Public Works, and I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
A resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with Ag Pro LLC in the amount of $147,118.91 for a John Deere 6110M utility tractor with mid-mount boom mower and accessory equipment for use by the Macon-Bibb County Public Works Department to be paid from Capital Improvement Fund and for other lawful purposes.
Operations and Finance Committee recommends approval. Is there wow, look at that thing. Woo-hoo. Operations and Finance Committee recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. Item H is a resolution to contract with Allison Landscape Design for ground maintenance services, and I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
A resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement in substantially the same form as the attached hereto Exhibit A with Allison Landscape and Design, LLP, for ground maintenance services at various parks and recreation facilities in the amount of $338,802 to be paid from budgeted funds and for other lawful purposes.
The Operations and Finance Committee recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. Next is item I, which is a professional services agreement with Tyler Technologies to provide for an interface between court management software and misdemeanor probation supervision software, and I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
A resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing the mayor to enter into a professional services agreement with Tyler Technologies Incorporated to provide a file interface between court management software and misdemeanor probation supervision software in the amount of $20,160 payable from 2012 SPLOST Public Safety, Vehicle Equipment, and other computer software funds in the FY 2020 budget and for other lawful purposes.
Operations and Finance Committee recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the resolution is adopted. Next is a resolution to execute an independent contractor agreement with Roadbotics for pavement inspection, and I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
A resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission to authorize the mayor to execute an independent contractor agreement between Macon-Bibb County and Robotics Incorporated in the amount of $82,500 for pavement inspection and evaluation of county-maintained roads and for other lawful purposes.
Operations and Finance Committee recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. Next is a resolution to contract for professional services for improvements at the Lake Tobosoffke, at the dam at Lake Tobosoffke, and I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
A resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a professional services agreement with Mead and Hunt Incorporated for the engineering design of the system upgrade to Finley Ryther Dam at Lake Tobosoffke in the amount of $147,900 to be paid by SPLOST bond proceeds and our SPLOST revenues and for other lawful purposes.
Operations and Finance Committee recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. Next is item L, which is an ordinance to approve a supplemental appropriation for the municipal court to fund a couple of different items, and I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
An ordinance of the Macon-Bibb County Commission to approve a supplemental appropriation from fund balance in the amount of $13,260 to the municipal court for the purchase of computers, monitors, printers, and other supplies and equipment, to transfer $11,000 from the municipal court salaries full-time line item to the municipal court professional services judge pro tem line item and for other lawful purposes.
Operations and Finance Committee recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the ordinance signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the ordinance is adopted. Next is item M, which is an ordinance to approve the appropriation of a certain amount of money to pay for contractual services for funding 3 temporary employees for the DocuSign for the business license renewal, and I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
An ordinance of the Macon-Bibb County Commission to approve a supplemental appropriation from fund balance in the amount of $52,806 to business development services, contract labor, contractual services line item for the purpose of funding 3 temporary employees for a period of 3 months and for purposes of funding a contract with electronic signature capabilities for online license renewals and for other lawful purposes.
The Operations and Finance Committee recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Commissioner Wynn, I got you first.
Sir, thank you, Mr. Mayor. As this came up tonight by a lot of citizens here, this was not Safe Built that we're talking about here. This is a contract just for 3 months for 3 temporary employees on the license, the signature capabilities, online signature capabilities. So I want to make sure that you that spoke about Safe Built, I think I said Safe Light, but Safe Built, this is not the same thing you're talking about, if I might address that.
Sir, thank you very much. Thank you very much. We'll handle this up here at this point. Thank you. Commissioner Wynn?
I just wanted clarification on that, and I know there's some issues with Safe Built. I've listened to what was said, Mr. Mayor, and I am going to look further into that myself.
Very, very good. No further discussion, but just as a point of personal privilege, let me say that business development services, we really kind of combined 3 different functions all into the same department under business development services. One function was examination of plans and inspections to go along with the construction to be sure it was in conformity with plans that were approved. The second function was to have the code enforcement, and that involves blight and substandard housing and code enforcement, both commercial and residential. But the third function was business license renewals. All three were under business development services. And the reason that I allowed the conversation to go on is because we brought Safe Built in as an outside agency when we lost the last director of business development services, and we're in the process of trying to find the best way. And we brought Safe Built in, A, to make recommendations, and B, to kind of supervise and give feedback over the operations of business development services. And we've been doing that for about 5 months now, approximately. One of the recommendations that they made was that business license renewals, A, should be able to be accomplished online. Go online and renew your business license without having to show up in person with a check or money order or whatever, but to get into the 21st century. We talked with the tax commissioner, and the tax commissioner has agreed to do that, but this is the 3 employees and the certificate or the business licensing with DocuSign to allow people to do an online signature associated with the business license renewal. So that function of business license renewal will be taken out from under, if the commission approves it, it will be taken out from under business development services and put under the tax commissioner's office. That is still pending, but this is the software we're going to need to get it done, and that's the only. So that's why this whole discussion came up about Safe Built, and we've kind of allowed it to go on. There is, however, ongoing the discussion, and I think our county manager has mentioned several times that he's working on this and trying to find the best plan to bring to you and the way to accomplish. Should we separate out code enforcement from inspections and plan review? So that is a discussion we have not yet had as a commission, but we've got that information that'll be forthcoming. So is there any further information or further discussion after have I provoked somebody? Commissioner Wynn, got your light on.
Got me on again because I want to say something. That's the explanation that was needed for public to hear, because we've had the discussion. We knew what was going on, but this wasn't clear, obviously, to the people that showed up. But I have talked to our county manager about Safe Built and what they're going to do. And, I've asked you in the meeting, we extended the contract with Safe Built twice now. And I asked you one time, we're going to keep extending this contract?
No.
And you said, I don't know. And we've extended it twice already, so we just need to look at what we're doing with them.
Right. Thank you.
I know what this is for tonight.
Okay, good. Commissioner Allen, got your light on now.
These employees are going to be working for us, these 3 people.
My understanding at this point is that they are being offered the opportunity to go with Safe Built if they want. If they don't want to go with Safe Built, that we'll find something else for them to do for us. That's my understanding of where we are, but I can't confirm. That's my understanding of where we are. But that has yet to be brought up to this commission.
So we're going to vote on something to hire these people, and we don't know where they're going?
No, these 3 people, the temporary ones. I'm sorry, the temporary ones. My impression is they're working at the tax commissioner's office. Right, they're working at the tax commissioner's office to get the DocuSign stuff up, running, and plugged in.
Well, that's fine if we're going to tax commissioner's office. I just didn't want.
Yeah, they're going.
I didn't want them to slide through and go.
No, these 3 people are separate. They work at the tax commissioner's office to get the DocuSign deal done. Okay. Commissioner Schlesinger, got your light on now.
Yeah, I just want to thank you all for coming in and sharing that with us. I mean, we needed to hear that. I think Chris Sheridan, who says that we've got a situation that is broke, we need to take to heart, and we need you to help us make sure that it's easy to do business in Macon-Bibb County. So thanks for doing that, and this discussion will continue.
Commissioner Watkins, got your light on this.
You.
Okay. No further discussion. Assume you're ready to vote. Then all in favor of the ordinance signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The ordinance is adopted. Next is item N, which is an appropriation of $100,000 for outreach efforts in connection with the census, and I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
An ordinance of the Macon-Bibb County Commission to approve a supplemental appropriation from fund balance in the amount of $100,000 to sponsor programs for the purpose of funding 2020 census outreach efforts and for other lawful purposes.
Operations and Finance Committee recommends approval. Is there further discussion? If not, let me just say, ladies and gentlemen, please, the census that happens once every 10 years and helps to determine how much money the federal government gives to which location, which state, which community, etc., as well as to determine representation in Congress, as well as local representation, state Senate, state House districts, commission districts, all are determined by census results, and it is of vital importance that we have everybody to participate. April the 1st of 2020 is the census day, and that's no joke. That is not an April Fool's joke. April the 1st is Census Day in 2020, and you're going to be able to answer and respond to the census by telephone, if you want to use the telephone, by computer, if you want to use the computer, or you can wait for somebody to knock on your door and count you. But you want to be sure to count everybody in your household, including children or dependents or in-laws or mother-in-laws or anybody else that's living there. Be sure that everybody in your house is included in the census. It's very important, especially children. Don't forget to count all of your children that live in the house there with you. That's point of personal privilege. Oh my goodness, I've provoked somebody else. Commissioner Wynn?
Not provoke, just want to make a comment. You know, sometimes you need to explain things. We need to explain things because our public's watching us on TV, believe it or not. Some of them do, because I get comments about that. But I was a little bit concerned about why we were having to put money, $100,000 into this project. And I'm on the committee, by the way. But I found out that federal government and the state government aren't giving us the funds like they used to do for a census. We hadn't had the big one in 10 years, so. But we needed to put a little money out there for feet on the ground, people to go knocking on doors that you're talking about, do mailings and calling and things like that. There are some expenses involved that we're going to need to take care of with this money, and that's why we're doing this, and I'm in favor of this. We had a lot of people around the committee table this past week, and a lot of folks from our community that are willing to work from different areas of the community to get the census done, and we need to have people sign up for the census. It brings money into our community for a lot of projects, a lot of things, and roads and bridges and things like that. So please do that when it comes around to April the 1st.
Very good. Thank you, Commissioner Wynn. Commissioner Allen, got you a line on, sir.
She answered it, I yield.
Very good. All right. No further discussion. All in favor of the, wait a minute, hold on. All in favor of the ordinance, signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The ordinance is adopted. Next is a resolution to make an appointment to the fire, or reappointment to the Fire Civil Service Board, and I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
A resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission to confirm Mayor Robert A.B. Ricker's reappointment of Lewis Frank Tompkins to the Macon-Bibb County Fire Civil Service Board and for other lawful purposes.
Economic and Community Development Committee recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. Next is a resolution to make an appointment to the Macon Pension and Retirement System Division A Plan Retirement Committee, and I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
A resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission appointing Valerie Wynn to serve as a member of the Retirement Board for the Macon Pension and Retirement System Division A Plan and for other lawful purposes.
The committee of the Economic and Community Development Committee recommends approval. There was, however, an amendment made by the Committee of the Whole, and I'll call on Commissioner Schlesinger to further address that.
During pre-commission, I suggested that we change the word committee to board because for the past 12 years I've been sitting on 2 pension boards, you know. Nevertheless, Michael McNeil, our assistant attorney, pointed out that the charter refers to them as committees. So, now we're playing semantics here, but we need to semantically change
Amend the amendment.
board back to committee, and we'll be in line. So I don't know whether I need to make a motion to amend the amendment or get rid of the amendment, but
That's right.
let's
Amend the
change
amendment-
board back to
amend-
committee,
that's right.
whatever way we need to do it.
Amend the amendment to reinstate the word committee in place of board, so that it reads as a member of the retirement committee of the Macon Pension and Retirement System.
There you go.
So that's the amendment. So we're voting on the amendment now. Is there further discussion about the amendment? If not, all in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. That's the amendment. Now we'll go to the resolution as amended. Is there further discussion about that? If not,
Just one thing, we need to do that in P as
connection
well.
with item Q.
Yeah.
Right, which is
in
the next
Q
one.
as well.
Right.
We'll
So
do it when we
I
get
guess
there
I
again.
guess your motion and the amendment without objection can apply to both. We'll make the same change to both because we had the same error, scrivener's error. Okay, that'd be good. All right. So now item P, the resolution as amended to reinstate the word board rather than committee and appoint Valerie Wynn to it. Signify by saying aye.
A committee rather than board.
Yeah, wasn't that what I said? Reinstate the word committee instead of board? That's what I meant to say. Okay. I'm got us thoroughly confused now, but this is to go back to the way it was originally, to say retirement committee, appointing Valerie Wynn to the committee of the Macon Pension and Retirement System Division A plan.
Yeah.
Okay, so all in favor of that as amended signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the resolution as amended is adopted. Item Q is a similar appointment to the same Division A plan, and we've got the same amendment to substitute for the word board, the original word of committee, so retirement committee, and I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
A resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission reappointing Pearlie Tolliver to serve as a member of the Retirement Committee for the Macon Pension and Retirement Systems Division A plan and for other lawful purposes.
The Economic and Development Committee recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution as amended, signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. Item R is an amendment to substitute the word commission, or substitute the word board for commission in certain advisory bodies, and I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
An ordinance of the Macon-Bibb County Commission to amend certain provisions of Chapter 2, Article 6 of the Inaugural Code of Ordinances of Macon-Bibb County to substitute the word board for the word commission in the names of certain advisory bodies created within the Macon-Bibb County government and to provide for other lawful purposes.
The Economic and Community Development Committee recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the ordinance signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The ordinance is adopted. Next is item S, and that's an ordinance to clarify the appointment process for members of the Pedestrian Safety Review Board, and I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
An ordinance of the Macon-Bibb County Commission to amend Section 2-851 of the Inaugural Code of Ordinances of Macon-Bibb County to clarify the appointment process for members of the Pedestrian Safety Review Board and to provide for other lawful purposes.
Economic and Community Development Committee recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the ordinance signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The ordinance is adopted. Next is a resolution to name an intersection, and I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
A resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission to name the intersection of Hopewell Road and Midway Road after PFC Horace Johnson Jr., KIA, to provide for the installation of a suitable memorial and for other lawful purposes.
The Facilities and Engineering Committee recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. Next are two resolutions, item U and item V, for closure of alleyways between Plum Street and Poplar Street in the first occasion, and First Street Lane and Poplar Street in the second occasion. This in connection with the new development in the area. Both are contingent on closing of the financial transaction for which the alleys are sought to be closed. Let me ask the clerk to read the first item U by caption.
A resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission approving and authorizing the closure of a 70-foot portion of First Street Lane from Poplar Street for the purpose of accommodating new development in the area and for other lawful purposes.
Is that U or V?
Okay, they're in here backwards. I apologize. Let me read the other one. A resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission approving and authorizing the closure of a 10-foot alleyway between Plum Street and Poplar Street Lane for the purpose of accommodating new development in the area and for other lawful purposes.
The Facilities and Engineering Committee recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. Now, item V, the second alleyway in that same vicinity.
A resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission approving and authorizing the closure of 70-foot portion of First Street Lane from Poplar Street for the purpose of accommodating new development in the area and for other lawful purposes.
The Facilities and Engineering Committee recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. Next, item W is to a resolution to accept a grant from the Georgia DOT for Macon Downtown Airport, and I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
A resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission to authorize the mayor to accept a grant from the Georgia Department of Transportation for airport engineering design and/or planning assistance at the Macon Downtown Airport in the amount of up to $100,403 with a federal share of up to $90,362.70, a state share of up to $5,020.15, and a local share of up to $5,020.15 to be paid out of the airport budget for the airport's runway rehabilitation project and for other lawful purposes.
Committee of the Whole recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. And finally, item X is a resolution to buy a couple of pieces of equipment for the landfill, and I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
A resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing the mayor to execute a purchase and sales agreement with Yancey Brothers Company, a company currently under Georgia statewide contract number 99999-001 SPD 0000102-0025 in the amount of $312,397 for the purchase of a Caterpillar 323 hydraulic excavator, which is $755, and a D5K 2LGP AC tractor, which cost $181,642, as requested by the Solid Waste Department, to be used at the Walker Road landfill to ensure landfill compliance, improve safety conditions for departmental employees, and to provide easier access for citizens of Macon-Bibb County, with funds to be paid from the 2018 SPLOST revenues and for other lawful purposes.
Committee of the Whole recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the resolution is adopted. That brings us now to item 10, which is new business. We have several items of new business that have been prepared and referred down by the attorney's office, and I'll read them as follows. The first is a resolution to recognize the month of February 2020 as Black History Month. I'm going to refer that to the Economic and Community Development Committee. Item B is a resolution to approve the proposed scope of work and pricing for purposes of negotiating a guaranteed energy savings performance contract with Schneider Electric and for purpose of sourcing funding therefore. I'm going to refer that to the Facilities and Engineering Committee. Item C is a resolution in support of the Pleasant Hill Cultural and Historical Revitalization Project. I'm going to refer that to the Economic and Community Development Committee. Item D is a resolution respectfully requesting that the local legislative delegations support the adoption of the necessary legislation during the 2020 session of the Georgia General Assembly to allow for other local option sales tax, OLOST, a referendum in Macon-Bibb County. I'm going to refer that to the Committee of the Whole. Item E is an ordinance to appropriate $200,000 of funds from the 2018 SPLOST revenues, calendar year 2020 Blight Bond number 2 line item for the Edgewood Avenue, Telfair Street, Elm Street Blight project. I'm going to refer that to the Operations and Finance Committee. Item F is an ordinance to approve a supplemental appropriation of $228,000 from the general fund balance to transfer out. Capital improvements for the purchase of a fire engine and equipment. I'm going to refer that to the Operations and Finance Committee. And finally, item G is an ordinance to approve fund transfer of $6,400 from the Extension Service Salaries Part-Time line item to the Extension Service Contract Labor Temporary Workers line item. I'm going to refer that to the Operations and Finance Committee. That's all of the new business that we have prepared and ready for referral at this point, but I would encourage you, if you're interested, to check the clerk's agenda, which comes out Friday afternoon and may include additional ordinances or resolutions that we will discuss and take up at the next committee meeting, which is next Tuesday, the 28th, beginning at 9 o'clock. Beginning at 9 o'clock at the Train Recreation Center, and then back here at around 9:45 for the remainder of the commission meeting. That's next Tuesday, the 28th. But check the clerk's agenda that comes out Friday afternoon to be sure that you see all of the ordinances and resolutions that we'll be considering next week. Now it's time for the next item on the agenda, which are public comments on non-agenda items. We have a couple of people that wanted to talk to us about non-agenda items. First, Stanley Stewart has been patiently waiting since earlier in the meeting and wants to talk to us about the Port of Savannah and deepening in relation to Macon.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the commission, Maconites. I could have used these minutes earlier when at the 4 o'clock meeting. But before I get started on that, I want to thank Ms. Lucas and the entire commission in terms of Muggy Little League. It was a Little League where I got my start. As a matter of fact, I was one of the first pitchers. Myself and Ivan Allen, who's president of Central Georgia Tech, I pitched for the Warriors that day, and Ivan pitched for the Apaches. And Northeast, it's a feeder to Northeast. We won the city championship in '89. Lost to Warner Robins 6-3 in the first round of the state playoffs. So Op Muggy means a lot to me, and I appreciate what y'all doing out there. I will say, though, I think Dr. Moffitt has left. I really would like to see a field named after his, I believe it was his grandfather, Mr. Moffitt, who used to always be there. There's a field named after him. Okay, great, because he was always there and present. And now, as far as the Port of Savannah, if you watched the news lately, you saw where Best Buy is coming to Dublin. And my stomach started to turn almost when I saw that, because I thought to myself, and I've been talking about this for a long time, not just for the mayor's race, but overall, Macon is in a prime spot geographically and with the interstates coming through here. That merchandise that's going from Savannah to Dublin, guess what? It's got to come through Macon anyway. So we need to be in the position to take advantage of things like that. I'm not saying the Industrial Authority is not doing a good job, because they are. Dean Baldwin and a lot of different things are coming to Macon now. But we need to be in a position of taking a proactive approach to try to bring more business here to Macon, companies like that from Savannah. If anything, get a directory from the list from the Port of Savannah, find out which companies are actually selling into Savannah, and pick up the telephone. Pick up the telephone. Hi, this is Macon, Georgia. We're in business. Call Sony, call Mercedes, and see what you can, what sticks, so to speak. The second thing is that the Eisenhower Corridor. I want to talk about that. We had a meeting at Planning and Zoning talking about the old Kroger. A lot of community members came out to it, and in my opinion, another grocery store needs to go in there because it's really a food desert there right now. But the Eisenhower corridor is a place, I think, this is my humble opinion, but I believe that we need to rethink what can go in there. You've heard me talk about technology corridors being out near Robins Air Force Base, and now we have one down near Capricorn, which is good. But at the same time, perhaps we can rethink what goes into that corridor. It may not be a shopping corridor for right now. It may be other things that we can put in there which can revitalize, which can kind of kickstart everything else. So win or lose in May, I'm going to be talking to people to see what I can do to help Macon grow, because I love this city. I care a lot about the city. Last thing is this, Delta Airlines, our airport. You got to think outside the box. You got to have 21st century ways of thinking. Delta recently is giving 17% profit sharing back to their employees, from the pilots to the guy who sweeps the floor. Delta is growing. It's a place right up the road. It actually got its start right here in Macon, Georgia as a crop dusting plane. Then it moved to Monroe, Louisiana, and then on to Atlanta. I don't know if the current administration has thought about this, but I definitely thought about this. Delta probably could use a second hub for Georgia. Why not use Middle Georgia Regional Airport as a second hub? And then they could run the planes into Macon and run a shuttle back up to Atlanta, which would create more business here for the city of Macon. That's just another way of thinking about things. Another thing is this, maybe you may want to change the name of Middle Georgia Regional Airport to Central Georgia, because Central has a different connotation than Mid usually. Mid sounds like you're not quite there, but Central is always a focal point, so to speak. But Delta, I wish that you all would reach out to Delta. If you all don't do it, I will reach out to Delta, whether the mayor's race or not. As a private citizen, I would do that. But please think about the Port of Savannah and how it relates to Macon, Georgia. Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Appreciate you being here and appreciate your comments. Finally, Mr. Donald Richardson is here, wants to share some grassroots reflections with us. Mr. Richardson, good to see you as always, sir. Welcome. You're recognized for up to 5 minutes.
Okay, let's see what we got here. Okay, Genesis chapter 35. And God said unto Jacob, Arise, go up to Bethel, and dwell there, and make there an altar unto God, that appeared unto thee when thou fleddest from the face of Esau thy brother. Then Jacob said unto his household, and to all that were with him, Put away the strange gods that are among you, and be clean, and change your garments. And let us arise and go up to Bethel, and I will make there an altar unto God, who answered me in the day of my distress, and was with me in the way which I went. And they gave unto Jacob all the strange gods which were in their hand, and all their earrings which were in their ears. And Jacob hid them under the oak which was by Shechem. And they journeyed, and the terror of God was upon the cities that were round about them, and they did not pursue after the sons of Jacob. So Jacob came to Luz, which is in the land of Canaan, that is Bethel, and he and all the people that were with him. And he built there an altar, and called the place of El Bethel, because there God appeared unto him when he fled from the face of his brother. But Deborah, Rebekah's nurse, died, and she was buried beneath Bethel under an oak. And the name of it was called Elon Bethuth. And God appeared unto Jacob again, and he came out of Padan Aram, and blessed him. And God said unto him, Thy name is Jacob. Thy name shall not be called any more Jacob, but Israel shall be thy name. And he called his name Israel. And God said unto him, I am God Almighty, be fruitful and multiply. A nation and a company of nations shall be of thee, and kings shall come out of thy loins. And the land which I gave Abraham and Isaac, to thee would I give it, and to thy seed after thee would I give the land. And God went up from him in the place where he talked with him. And Jacob set up a pillar in the place where he talked with him, even a pillar of stone, and he poured a drink offering thereon, and he poured oil thereon. And Jacob called the name of the place where God spake with him Bethel. And they journeyed from Bethel, and there was but a little way to come to Ephrath. And Rachel travailed, and she had hard labor. And it came to pass, when she was in hard labor, that the midwife said unto her, Fear not, thou shalt have this son also. And it came to pass, as her soul was in departing, for she died, and that she was called his name Benoni. But his father called him Benjamin. And Rachel died and was buried in the way to Ephrath, which is Bethlehem. And Jacob set up a pillar upon her grave. That is the pillar of Rachel's grave unto this day. And Israel journeyed and spread his tent beyond the tower of Egdar. And it came to pass, when Israel dwelt in that land, that Reuben went and lay with Bilhah, his father's concubine, and Israel heard it. And now the sons of Jacob were 12. The sons of Leah, Reuben, Jacob's firstborn, and Simeon, and Levi, and Judah, and Issachar, and Zebulun. The sons of Rachel, Joseph, and Benjamin. The sons of Bilhah, Rachel's handmaid, Dan, and Naphtali. And the sons of Zipporah, Leah's handmaid, Gad, and Asher. These are the sons of Jacob, which were born to him in Paddan. And Jacob came unto Isaac his father.
Mr. Richardson, thank you very much for your patience and for being here with us tonight. We're most appreciative. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Mayor Pro Tem, got a point of personal privilege, sir?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. Just wanted to remind the public that there will be a job fair this Thursday at the Macon City Auditorium. Job employers that have been confirmed. It'll start at 10 a.m. Confirmed will be the Census Bureau will be actually set up to hire folks. Kumo Tire will be there, Coca-Cola, Tractor Supply, Irving Tissue, Tyson Foods, YKK, USA, and Geiger, just to name a few. So we encourage the public to come out. And just want to say that a lot of citizens have great ideas and suggestions, and I don't know how we can just make sure more information is out, but most folks don't know that Delta helped us build the Middle Georgia Airport years ago. And they fly in quite often, those big airplanes that y'all never hear about and see in the sky. They're actually sometimes at the Middle Georgia Regional Airport. And because we do work on them out there, and they come in and let us do work on them. And so public's not aware of some of those things that happen, so I'd like to take a tour sometime. I'm sure our PR person will keep you updated and informed. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Commissioner Lucas, you said earlier that you might want a point of personal privilege to talk about the work of the Martin Luther King Commission and/or February.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for the reminder. I just want to encourage, on behalf of myself as chair of the Martin Luther King Commission, Rabbi Schlesinger has served on it since its inception. How many years? 15 maybe? Years old. But it is a part of our code of ordinances that we do have a Macon-Bibb Dr. Martin Luther King Commission. And I want to thank all of our citizens who have participated in the events over this past weekend and especially on yesterday. But we want to remind everybody that there are many, many events that are planned throughout the year. And so if you would please check our website, check our Facebook page, and click on the King icon that's on there. And we want to thank our Public Affairs Department for doing an outstanding job, and our office, our clerk's office, for doing an outstanding job in helping us to keep those calendars updated. And if any organization has events that you know are in keeping with the life and works of Dr. King, please get those events in to us, and we would be more than happy to include them on the calendar of events so that we pay tribute to this great person year-round, and not just the day that he was born, and not just in April when he died. We want to make this a year-round event, and it is. So that was the remark that I want to make. And then in February, we will have the young folks who won the first three places, first, second, and third place in the oratorical contest sponsored by our recreation department. Two of them presented their speeches at the Martin Luther King breakfast yesterday morning. Mayor, you were there. They were wonderful, and so they will present those same speeches here at the commission meeting, that first meeting in February. So we encourage everyone to take part in all of the King events 365. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Lucas. We've reached the end of our agenda. No other points of personal privilege requested. Can I get a motion to adjourn? And without objection, we are adjourned. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.